Because I
Yeah.
saw your post yesterday. You really loved her. You worked with her 5 seasons
Yeah, I did.
on America's Got Talent.
It's very heartbreaking in one way. I watched Sharon yesterday. I teared up watching it because I've known Sharon a long time. She's a very, very close friend of mine. And to see her so broken in the way that she was, they were married nearly 50 years.
Wow.
And they never pretended they had the perfect marriage. They had probably more challenges than most marriages would ever go through.
When Ozzy passed away, Sharon's entire world shattered. He wasn't just her husband. He was her other half, the one who stood beside her through addiction, betrayal, illness, and brutal media storms. At the funeral, she didn't collapse or scream. She just trembled quietly, like her body was holding back a tidal wave of pain. For nearly 50 years, she fought in Ozzy's wild spirit, alive. He broke her many times, but she always forgave him. And now, with him gone, she's left in a silence that no spotlight can fill. Ozzy couldn't live without Sharon, and Sharon can't imagine life without Ozzy. Friends recall how deeply they were connected. Even as a child, their granddaughter would light up at the sight of him on TV. Their story began long before fame. Ozzy had been drawn to Sharon's laughter, her fire. They crossed paths for years before they truly came together. When he was fired from Black Sabbath and ready to give up, it was Sharon who knocked on his hotel door and offered to manage him and love him. They were chaos and comfort. She once joked his pickup line was asking to watch her TV. But underneath it all, they just belonged. Ozzy had a wicked sense of humor and a gift for turning even the worst days into a laugh. He wasn't a diva. He never faked who he was. And Sharon admired that more than anything. In Ozzy's own words, Sharon was his soulmate. "Sometimes I want to kill her," he said, "but I love her more than anything in the world." Ozzy once said, "I couldn't live without her. I don't want to live without her. My love for her now is bigger than it's ever been." But their story wasn't a fairy tale. As Sharon once put it, they both lived happily ever after.
Deal with it, but at the end, we still managed to laugh about whatever it is Ozzy.
That's a bunch of nonsense. Marriage to them was never just about romance. It was a brutal, honest, lifelong contract. "People get married and 3 weeks later they're divorced," Ozzy said. "But when I was sick with cancer, she carried me to the bathroom and back." That's what it's about. Their love was never soft, it was real. Sharon met Ozzy when she was just a young woman, the daughter of Black Sabbath's manager. Ozzy was chaotic, damaged, and on the brink of losing everything. But Sharon saw through the madness and into the man. When Ozzy was kicked out of Black Sabbath in 1979, most thought it was the end. But Sharon stepped in, not just as a manager, but as a lifeline. They married in 1982, and from then on, every day was a fight against addiction, violence, fame, and illness. Ozzy admits, "I was a bad boy for many years, but the love has just got better, deeper. We're blessed to have found each other." Sharon was there through everything, every fall, every relapse. Not because she had to, but because she chose to.
Well, I was attracted to Sharon for many years. We'd see each other in airports and at festivals and different things along the way. Oh, she had this infectious laugh. She was fun, you know. And then when I was with Black Sabbath, we were contemplating being managed by her father.
"Love is such an overused word," Ozzy once said, "but the love I have for her and my kids, you can't buy that." When Ozzy was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2020, Sharon didn't flinch. She held his hand and stood by him in front of the world, strong, quiet, and unshaken. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was enduring. Ozzy once said, "It must really suck when people have affairs for 10 years and then they get found out. That must really hurt. It breaks people." But Sharon and Ozzy never broke. They bent, they fell, but they always found their way back. In the end, Sharon wasn't just Ozzy's partner. She was the one who witnessed his fall, helped him rise, and stayed through it all, till the very last chapter.
I love her more.
I love my husband so much more than when we first met. It's
I was a bad boy for many years.
the love has just got better, deeper, and we're blessed to have found each other.
I mean, it must really suck when people have like affairs for like 10 years. and I got found.
I could be right. I could be wrong. It hurts so bad. It's been so long. Mama's coming home. That's how Ozzy ended it. Not with a bang, but with a goodbye that echoed through hearts across the world. If Ozzy could have scripted his final act, this was it. Birmingham, the city where it all began, the birthplace of Black Sabbath. Thousands of fans, brummies with thick accents, roared as Ozzy took the stage one last time. A friend remembered texting him the night before. He said, "We're in Birmingham, the final show, and then that's that." It felt like he knew, like he was sealing his story. And what a story it was. Ozzy didn't walk onto that stage. He was rolled out in a black chair, a throne raised high, surrounded by the roar of decades of love. His voice cracked during "Mama, I'm coming home." But the power behind those words was something no note could match.
We gotta be quiet. Hold on.
Kelly, you know I love you more than anything in the world.
Fuck up, you're not married, my daughter.
He was amazing, one fan said. He gave us everything. I teared up more than once. Metal wouldn't be the same without him. That night at Aston Villa Stadium, Ozzy wasn't just a man in a wheelchair. He was a king returning to his castle, carried by the music, the love, and the legacy he built. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, old friends and icons, all there, not just to perform, but to honor him. This wasn't a concert. This was a farewell ceremony, a torch passing, a legend writing his own final page. The image of Ozzy rising above the crowd in that throne wasn't just symbolic. It was majestic, emotional, eternal. A final anthem to close the story of a wild, troubled, brilliant soul who defied death, gravity, and expectations, over and over again. Just over 2 weeks ago, at what would be Ozzy's final concert, something rare happened. It wasn't just about the music that night. It was about family. All of his children were there. Amy, Jack, Kelly, the grandchildren, their partners, even Ozzy's kids from his first marriage. The people who had been by his side for decades, longtime staff and friends, gathered not backstage as workers, but as family. That says something about a man. When people stick around that long, it means you gave them something real. And in the middle of that final performance, as Ozzy sat high on that dark throne and looked out over the crowd, something beautiful happened. His daughter Kelly was proposed to, right there, surrounded by the people who mattered most. Despite his failing health, Ozzy smiled. He couldn't walk her down the aisle, but he was there to see that moment, and that meant the world to him. Later, a letter from Ozzy surfaced. He apologized for not being able to attend the wedding, but he sent her love, his blessing, and a wish for peace and happiness. It wasn't flashy or loud. It was the voice of a father who just wanted his daughter to know he was proud. Moments like that reminded everyone. Ozzy wasn't just a legend. He was a dad, a granddad, a man who made mistakes, but loved fiercely. Behind the madness and fame was someone who never stopped putting family first, no matter what. And sure, the Osbournes weren't always perfect. There were chaotic dinners, wild memories, and yes, moments that only made sense in their world. But that's what made them so real. That's what made Ozzy unforgettable. He came from nothing, a poor kid from Aston, Birmingham, born in 1948 into a family filled with fights and fear. He didn't grow up with peace, but he built a life that gave it to others. Through the noise, the music, the missteps, he found meaning. Ozzy Osbourne wasn't just a rock star. He was the soul of a generation. And though he's no longer here, his legacy doesn't fade. It lives on through Sharon, through Jack and Kelly, and through every fan who ever found a piece of themselves in his music.
That concert just over 2 weeks ago, all the kids were there. Amy, Jack, Kelly, with their kids, with their partners, the grandchildren were there. Ozzy's children from his first marriage, all the staff that have worked for them for decades, which always says something about somebody, doesn't it, when you keep the same staff. And it was a real family affair. And so I kind of take some comfort.
It wasn't just the end of a concert. It was the closing note of an era. But what a life it was. Even in his roughest early years, Ozzy found something that gave him hope. Music. That passion took shape when he joined Black Sabbath in the late 60s. Their dark, heavy sound transformed rock forever, and Ozzy's voice became the soul of the band. Hits like Paranoid, Iron Man, and War Pigs didn't just launch a career, they created a new genre. And when Ozzy eventually went solo, albums like Blizzard of Oz and songs like Crazy Train proved his fire hadn't faded. But behind the fame was a man constantly battling addiction and illness. His journey wasn't easy, but it was real. Through it all, Sharon stood by him. More than a wife, she was his manager, his defender, and the one who helped pull him back from the edge time and time again. Their bond, tested by years of chaos, became a pillar for the entire family. And when the world saw them on reality TV in the early 2000s, they didn't see just a rock star. They saw a father, a husband, and a man trying to hold it all together. As Ozzy's health declined, his family stayed close. Sharon, always steady. Jack, no longer the boy from the show, had grown into a resilient father of his own. And Kelly, who'd faced her own challenges, said it best. He was a better grandfather than a father. And that's not a criticism, it's redemption. On July 22nd, 2025, the world lost a legend. But Ozzy's death wasn't just the end of a music icon. It was the closing of a chapter in rock history. Kelly's words showed how deeply she understood her father, not as a perfect man, but as someone who grew, changed, and loved unconditionally. Ozzy Osbourne's life was one of resilience. From addiction and controversy to health struggles and personal redemption, he fought through every storm. What made the difference? Family. Sharon wasn't just his wife. She was his anchor, his manager, and the person who never gave up on him. Together, they raised a family that became his greatest source of strength. In his final years, Ozzy found peace. He let go of the past, forgave those who hurt him, and most importantly, forgave himself. His last wish was simple. Don't grieve too long. Don't carry pain. Let me go in peace. His message to fans and family alike was clear. Forgive, love deeply, and live without regret. Ozzy Osbourne leaves behind more than just legendary music. He leaves a legacy of courage, love, and the power of redemption. Thank you for joining us to honor a true rock legend. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us, what does Ozzy mean to you?